If you're aware of astrology, then you realize that we're in the beginning of a Mercury retrograde. So here's my advice: things not to do during our Mercury retrograde. Do not look for a new job. If you apply for a job and you're hired for this particular job, it might not be the job of your dreams or quite the description that you were seeking. During Mercury retrograde, be very careful about your communication. You can unintentionally hurt people's feelings. I strongly advise that instead of emailing people, you just simply call them directly on the phone and talk to them to avoid any type of miscommunication. And also, another thing that you want to do, it's not good to text message during the Mercury retrograde. So if you can avoid emailing and text messages, a real phone call or an in-person communication where you actually meet with your friend or meet with a colleague in person, because Mercury retrograde affects communication, and like arguments can start, and so misunderstandings. It's so much better if you just call someone on the phone rather than emailing them, unless you already know who the person is. One more thing, it does affect your finances. Okay, so don't be surprised if this affects your abundance and your opportunities to receive, monetary compensation for your time. Because Mercury retrograde does affect communication. When you don't have good communication, it can harm your abundance, it can harm your work opportunities. And another thing, do not sign any leases for a new apartment during the time of a Mercury retrograde. Expect your computers to stop working. Expect your smartphones to just, stop working or breaking. Mercury retrograde will affect, everything electrical, mechanical that you can imagine. Your tires might blow out when you're on your way to work. And if you realize that travel might be delayed, that no leases and no new contracts should be signed, you should be fine during this Mercury retrograde. I believe this one started on May 29th and it will end June 22nd. So if you are into astrology and you understand that astrology is a science based on the stars and planets and different alignments, and you follow this advice during the Mercury retrograde, you should be fine. So, I'm going to do a recap. Be very careful not to, be very mindful of what comes out of your mouth. You don't want to hurt people's feelings. You don't want to have arguments with your friends or family members or colleagues. So think, very carefully before making a fool of yourself, or, just think before you speak. And then, as far as electrical appliances and maybe things break in your house, that's going to normally happen during a Mercury retrograde. And again, don't start a job, don't start projects, don't sell your house, don't buy a house. Wait until after the Mercury retrograde passes. And I hope I've given you some helpful information. And if you feel like this Mercury retrograde is really killing your joy, then schedule me for a session because I am available. Thanks for listening.